Arguably one of the most intriguing, promising fights that would have undoubtedly shaped boxing history. Champion vs. champion, heavyweight vs. heavyweight, the fight that never was. Iron Mike Tyson vs. Tommy Morrison. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks. Even in 2021, you can rarely mention boxing greats, boxing superstars, boxing bad boys without bringing up the name of Mike Tyson. Infamous Mike Tyson. Once again, boasting a stellar record of 58 fights, 50 wins, with 44 coming by way of knockout, 2 no contests, and only 6 losses to the likes of Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, and of course Buster Douglas. However, most of these losses came late in Tyson's career, arguably after his prime. Many claim that a young, fresh Tyson was in fact undefeatable, perhaps the greatest of all time. Regardless of whether you're a Iron Mike Tyson, dubbed Iron because of his steel-like hands and unmatched punching power. To give you an idea, Mike Tyson's punching force, according to a top sports professor, would be the equivalent of getting hit by a 16-pound sledgehammer. Yes, a 16-pound sledgehammer. Furthermore, Tyson's punch is calculated at around 4 times more powerful than the average human, racking up an 85% chance of causing brain damage in a single punch. Now that's power. However, Mike wasn't the only one of his era that could punch like a mule. But how could he fare against fellow heavyweight Tommy the Duke Morrison, a hard-hitting 6-foot 2-inch wrecking ball from Omaha, Nebraska, boasting an impressive 42 knockouts and 48 wins, making Tommy Morrison the owner of one of the most impressive heavyweight boxing records in recent times, arguably a record on par with Tyson himself. Even as a youngster, training with legendary boxing trainer Cus D'Amato, Mike's power was plain for all to see. 1985 is when Mike really made his stamp on the professional game, fighting 15 times in his first year as a professional.
Mike Tyson, he's only been fighting professionally for 9 months, but so far very impressive. That power is awesome. So far has been nothing but knockouts.
But it was not only his power that impressed. For a small heavyweight at only 5'10", Mike had to adapt his style to even be able to compete with bigger, taller guys, in which most of the heavyweight division was indeed bigger, taller guys, in comparison to Tyson's relatively small frame. This is where his speed and agility came into play. Power aside, the quick feet, dazzling head movement, and lightning speed is what really made Mike an all-time great.
Yeah, great.
So, was it a close escape for Tyson, or rather a close escape for Morrison? If Tommy Morrison had beaten Tyson, would he then be considered one of the all-time greats? Could he have beaten Tyson at all? Let's take a closer look.
Tommy Morrison versus Mike Tyson.
Now boxing big shot, Bill Caton is grooming Tommy for a shot at heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. And it could be the grudge match of the century.
After winning 26 of his first 28 bouts via knockout, or technical knockout, with at least 16 of those bouts ending in the first round, Tyson still managed to rack up an impressive resume over the coming years.
He has been the youngest heavyweight champion in history, and he may go on to become the oldest heavyweight champion in history.
On November 22, 1986, Tyson was given his first title fight against Jamaica's Trevor Berbick under the bright lights of Las Vegas. As many predicted, Tyson was too much for Berbick to handle, and in the second round, Tyson drops Trevor Berbick with a vicious left hook, becoming the youngest ever heavyweight world champion at only 20 years old.
Bangs the body wild, that uppercut is Tyson, catches him with a right left hook, and he goes down! He goes down, he should be able to get up from this. His legs may be shut, they are!
Morrison entered the professional ranks in similar fashion when he debuted against New York's own William Muhammad. To say Tommy got off on the right foot would be somewhat of an understatement. He won himself a KO victory inside the first round against Muhammad, and then only 3 weeks later, Morrison would score another first-round KO victory over Tony Dewar. Only a year later, Morrison had racked up an impressive 19-0 record, with 15 of those coming via KO, finishing the year off undefeated as a young, hungry title contender. Tommy was mainly known in the community not only for his undeniable power, but the way he timed opponents, especially with his trademark left hook. After making headway and becoming known for his ruthless punching power and technique, Morrison would be offered his first title fight against a tricky southpaw named Arthur Weathers. Even though Morrison would eventually go on to make boxing history that year, it was for all the wrong reasons. Before he could fight Weathers, the Nevada State Athletic Commission determined that Morrison had indeed tested positive for HIV before the fight, becoming the first professional boxer in history to do so.
Just a little while ago that those tests do in fact confirm that I have tested positive for the HIV virus.
Morrison later came out and said it was the result of a reckless lifestyle, one that would not only cost him his boxing career, but would ultimately rob the fans of a boxing mega fight. After impressive victories over former world champ Pinklon Thomas and Oklahoma's James Tillis, Morrison was given his first world title opportunity against fellow undefeated heavyweight and current WBO world title holder Ray Mercer. Morrison could only slump against the ropes moments before the referee would step in and call a halt to Tommy Morrison's first world title challenge. However, after 6 wins in '92 and 3 wins in '93 respectively, Morrison would land himself a second chance at heavyweight greatness. Not only did he win the WBO in stylish fashion, he was now a legitimate contender to all 3 major heavyweight titles sanctioned by the WBA, WBC, and IBF.
And the toughness of character, I think he'll become heavyweight champion in 2 years.
Was this the time to make it? Tommy had seemingly overcome a ferocious knockout defeat to come back and put his stamp on the division with a punch-perfect masterclass against former world champion George Foreman. He was in his prime, and so was Mike Tyson. So why didn't the fight happen? Well, there isn't a clear-cut answer, more an amalgamation of unfortunate events that would put this fight out of reach. A year before Tommy had his first world title charge, Tyson would lose his world titles in arguably the biggest sporting upset when Buster Douglas took out Mike in the 10th round. Whilst Tommy was returning to boxing, whilst trying to make another title charge, Mike Tyson went on to be sentenced for 6 years in prison and 4 years on probation, by the time in which Tommy had won and defended his world titles numerous times. By the time Tyson got released from prison, it was safe to say the best of Tommy Morrison's career was well behind him, resulting in a bout that would no longer be the mega fight everyone had expected years earlier.